For 14 years, Botswana's economic growth rate has been exceptional, and the country has engaged in major projects designed to boost both the country's economy and energy needs. But in a recent review carried out by the country's leading economist, Keith Jeffries, he cited poor project management as a risk factor for Botswana's continued economic growth.
In the past year, Botswana has experienced severe water and power shortages. And these shortages have been blamed on poor planning and project management in the public service sector. My name is Brando Kiabilwe, and this is Doing Business in Botswana.
Project management is essential to development. For a country like Botswana, managing public finances is critical to ensuring trust in the national business environment. In recent years, the Botswana government has embarked on numerous projects designed to enhance Botswana's stature as a regional powerhouse. But unfortunately, in many cases, their successful completion has been hampered by poor project management.
There is a general belief that Botswana has got one of the most progressive policies in the world and is very much admired about its the economic growth rates that were achieved over the last 3 decades, its ratings in terms of World Economic Forum reports, in terms of global competitiveness. But by and large, I have felt that our ability or capability to implement policies has been short, because we don't have the profession, we don't have the numbers. As you know, Botswana is a relatively small country with 2 million people. So we have a lot of ideas, but we are limited in terms of capacity to implement. And hence the profession of project management. And project management, it is that profession that assists organizations, countries, regions to be able to implement initiatives and policies in a smart, efficient way. And with obviously Botswana being dependent on the diamond industry, it is important that the little tabbers or dollars that we get from the diamonds are executed in a very efficient manner, such that we can have life after diamonds that's still very much prosperous.
The bureaucratic nature of processes and procedures presents unique hurdles for Botswana. And these challenges have the potential to hamper Botswana's ambition of being an investor-friendly environment.
The country started with bureaucracy, if you know what I mean. In other words, it started with government dominating all the spaces. So government set up procedures and all that, borrowing these procedures from other countries. Now, if you look at the competitiveness report, the hurdles that are topmost in terms of assisting Botswana to really progress, by and large, it is bureaucracy, red tape. We are a country that's built really around a bureaucracy or a government structure. So people's culture and process are very much a red tape led, if you may. And this has been acknowledged nationally. Now, to try and get rid of those inefficient processes, to try and up the game in terms of the national ethos that is progressive in terms of competitiveness, it means you need to come up with some initiatives. Those initiatives are projects. Those need to be executed as fast as possible so Botswana can catch up.
Timely delivery of projects is a major challenge for the government. Many projects are not completed within budget and in accordance with the desired scope. This constrains economic growth, and if not addressed, it will certainly hinder economic growth in the long term.
When you have a cost overrun, effectively what happens is money that was set aside for future development has to be taken now to complete ongoing projects. So effectively, when you have cost overruns and delays, you are robbing the nation of future developments. So maybe future hospitals that were supposed to have been started will then be delayed by maybe a decade or several years, because the monies that were put aside for that have to be diverted to ongoing projects that are not completed on time and that are running over budget.
There is need to develop improved capacity building within government and parastatals to plan and manage projects effectively, efficiently, and within time. Non-implementation means that the nation is deprived of essential infrastructure, which in turn holds back development.
Prior to the 2010 World Cup, South African World Cup, the government had decided to invest in the Sesaratsakama Airport, which was supposed to have been finished before 2010. There were certain things that raised concerns, because as we speak, the airport is still under construction 4 years after when it was supposed to have been completed.
You have a large organization that has projects that are critical to its existence and its success. And then you look at what have they actually put within their structures to help them with implementation. And you find about 2-3 people in an office responsible for a portfolio of millions, sometimes billions. That is insufficient. So now if you've got people too few in number, who haven't been given the right skills, who are not supported by ensuring that they've got the right infrastructure in the office, like the process, the methodologies, you don't get them scheduling tools and the like, you then place them in a situation where it's unfair to expect them to perform to the maximum. Then you come back a year later and you say the projects have failed, but did you give them the capacity that they need, the skills that they need, the support that they need to actually perform at the job?
Government has in-house project managers who are civil servants. You might find that they're running several projects at a time because government has several projects that they're doing. And they have one team that has oversight on all these projects. For example, if the Ministry of Health is running several projects, they're putting up clinics in certain areas, their team of project managers has to oversee all these separate and spread out projects. It would be difficult for them to oversee all these projects smoothly. So usually then have these problems that might crop up because of the workload they have.
Botswana is very clear on the direction it wants to take. The country's leadership is aware of what is required to propel this vision. The challenge is implementing the strategies and ideas. How does the country ensure that projects are implemented on time and on budget?
In the past years, when we didn't have the financial constraints that we had now, you had the luxury to complete the project, whenever. And if you needed additional money, you could get it. Now, the resources are no longer there. We are now operating in a globalized environment, so speed is of the essence. We have the right ideas. Are we going to execute it in time? So it's essential that we execute quickly and decisively to make sure that we maintain ourselves at the forefront of what is happening both on this continent and internationally.
The potential for entrenching project management deeper into the public sector is great, and the potential for it to result in greater effectiveness, better service delivery for the people of this country and the rest of the continent is not in dispute. The challenge for us is to move from having that insight to actually realizing the full potential.
I think the future is bright if we keep our eyes on the ball in terms of doing the right things, because I think we've had a lot of praises globally, and there's a risk of complacence, of just shining in that glory that we get and losing the fundamentals that we need to keep our tab on. And I think if we do that, this country will go far. There's a big challenge, obviously. For me, a country like Botswana, poverty should be a thing of the past. With a 2 million population, with the type of opportunities that we have. So I think our leadership are appreciating those type of things, and I'm quite confident that Botswana will increasingly become an attractive place globally in a way that will contribute to GDP, unemployment, and hopefully Botswana can drop from being 74 in the competitive report maybe to top 20, top 30, and be in the leagues of your Singapore, your Taiwan in terms of a global positioning.
There is growing realization that Botswana's management capacity is a crucial factor in successfully implementing development projects. The success in promoting economic and social progress depends not only on the ability to define microeconomic policies and to mobilize financial, human, and technological resources, but also the ability to manage those resources effectively.
For local companies to compete globally, they need to start thinking globally. They need to think beyond the next 1, 2, or 3 years and start looking at how different is Botswana going to be in the next few years? How different is Africa going to be? What are the trends out there internationally? And proactively start positioning themselves even before those trends develop to position themselves to compete in those areas. We need to think a lot bigger than we think beyond our borders.
We've got to adopt and realize the benefit of structured program project management, because if we do that, we will achieve these projects faster, the opportunities will come to bear, and then we will see obviously the impact on GDP faster than we are seeing right now.
If the economic and social progress made in Botswana over the last 3 decades is to be sustained, public and private organizations must have the capacity to carry out their own development projects.
One of the things that Botswana must also determine is how its projects differ from that of other countries and decide which management strategies work effectively. For me, Brando Kiabilwe, have a good evening.